today that are experiencing our center for the very first time. So Roger, thank you for being the draw. I appreciate that. Roger the rock star, that's what we call him internally. And the Center for Family Business, I've been leading it for 9 years. The center has been around for 25 years. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary this year a little bit differently than we thought we might. Didn't anticipate that we'd be celebrating it with Zoom meetings, but hey, it is what it is, and we're all making the best out of this crazy world we live in right now. I noticed we're pushing up close to 50 people. I expect that number to continue to climb. Typically what we do is we do workshops in person. The building behind me on my virtual background is Mahalo College at Cal State Fullerton, where I actually work when I can go to work. Now, if I had a picture up, you'd see my office here at home. We do workshops every month in this building behind me for family-owned companies throughout Southern California. And topics range on really anything that a family business needs to. Now this guy, we can keep this guy up, right? Are you wearing an In-N-Out shirt?
Yes, I am.
Look at you. All right, I love it.
I'm no dummy.
There you go. I love that. The gentleman who just popped in is Mr. Fram Vergy. He's the president of Cal State Fullerton. Fram, it's so good to see you.
Great to be here. Great to see Roger's face. Great to see your face. Love you both.
You want to share a greeting or two on behalf of Cal State Fullerton with our guests before I finish off my part and introduce Roger?
Well, I'm here as to listen to the sage. That's what I'm here for. And so,
it's getting thick here now.
Yeah, pleased to be here. People will probably think I'm crazy to say this, but it's an exciting time to be at Cal State Fullerton right now, with all the things that we've been able to accomplish, moving 40,000 kids to virtual learning on the turn of a dime, and 6,000 faculty and staff to remote teaching. And we've actually not just moved our instruction online, but we've moved our tutoring, our health care services, our creation for our clubs, even our rec center has workouts online. So we have here we are in a Zoom meeting, and as I kid my faculty, 6 months ago, if I asked one of my faculty members what Zoom was, they think it was a popsicle at the grocery store. And here we are having an amazing virtual meeting about it. The new normal is here. So health and safety of faculty, staff, and students, and our community first. But very, very close second is getting them back to campus as soon as we can. Roger's been an amazing partner in sharing his thoughts with me on that, and I appreciate and I want to acknowledge that publicly for the help that he's had been to me with that. And we're going to get there. We're going to do so in a way that assures the health and safety of our community, but also allows for robust learning and getting our kids back to campus for instruction, but also for performing arts and athletics and hands-on learning in our laboratories with our engineers, etc. The new normal is going to be great. It's not just going to be different. It's going to be robust and fantastic. We're going to do it together. We're going to do it together.
Excellent. Thank you, Fram. It's just, as I said, it's so great to see you. For those who've come on, the numbers have doubled in the time that Fram came on, and there now is Morteza, our dean of our business school as well. Yeah, Fram's been with the university now coming up on, well, about a year and a half, I guess, right? Is it 2.5?
Almost 3 years, yeah.
Almost 3, yeah, that's right. The first year was an interim, and then, yeah, that's what time flies, doesn't it? So you mentioned before the word Zoom. I think prior to 3 months ago, if we said our day was zooming by, it meant it was going by very quickly. Now it means something very different. So that's all right. Of our days are zooming by. We appreciate all of you joining us here today. Dr. Morteza Ramatian, my boss and the dean of the Mahalo College of Business and Economics, is with us as well. Morteza, you'd like to greet our guests? Unmute yourself there.
Unmute myself. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ed, Fram, and all the colleagues. I'm so glad to be here today. And as you said, I am literally zoomed out 24/7 on Zoom, but nevertheless, that's the only option available. And I'm glad we have this option. I'm glad we have Connect, and I'm glad to see that Ed is still connecting with all his team members and others. I'm so looking forward to hear the presentation today. And I don't want to hold you up much longer. Welcome to everyone, and thanks for inviting me.
Charles Antis just sent me a text for me to tell you, Morteza, that he loves your beard. And Fram as well. You're both looking good. I couldn't grow facial hair if my life depended on it. So I'm doing it vicariously through the two of you.
Charles is very kind. I love his hair, by the way.
There
But
you go.
nonetheless,
Yeah.
my beard, I'm copying Fram, of course. Fram is my leader in all
There you
regards.
go. I knew Charles would pop up and show his hair. I was waiting.
There we go.
For those of you joining us for the first time, I'm sorry. Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
I actually said you look like the most interesting man in the world.
There you go. That's right. There's a Heineken commercial just waiting to happen right now. So my informal slogan in my life is, if it ain't fun, it ain't getting done. And I like to try to have fun in all that I do. And this is the most fun job I've ever had. And you can tell why. I work with some amazing people. Just take a couple of minutes again to welcome all of you who are coming in. I'm really excited that we have a great turnout here today. As I was stating before, we do monthly workshops in the building behind me that you see. That's where Morteza and I are housed at the Mahalo College of Business and Economics on campus at Cal State Fullerton. Cal State Fullerton, for those that don't know much about us, we've been around since 1957. We are the largest public university, I believe, west of the Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken, and the best. And that's not a mistake. I know that's for sure. And I'm not saying that because my two bosses are on my three. Roger's technically my boss too. He's on my board. But we do some amazing things at Fullerton beyond just play baseball. We do a lot of really great things within the business school and within the university itself. These workshops that we do normally in person are designed to assist family businesses with their succession planning, their leadership development, their strategy, communication, conflict resolution, virtually anything, literally anything. I got to be careful how I use the word virtual now because everything's virtual. We actually do, sorry, Joe, I love you, but I'm going to stop your video. I'll bring you back in a little while. The workshops that we're doing now, obviously we've shifted over to this world that we're all in now, and it's actually working out quite well. To Fram's point, we've had some great success with the online portion of what we're doing here within the university and specifically here at the center. We do these workshops now open up to the world. On this call right now, I have colleagues of mine who are center directors at other universities around North America. We have family businesses from other areas that represent some of those regions of the world as well. We have a lot of restaurant owners who are intrigued by this today because of the fascination with In-N-Out Burger and the loyalty to In-N-Out and Roger's reputation. And I'll introduce Roger here in just a moment. But I'm very excited to have all of you here with us today. A couple of logistical things for you real quick. You've noticed that right now on screen, well, I was going to say 4, now 3. During the presentation, it'll just be Roger. In a moment, once we start, we'll turn all the videos off except Roger. So all you'll see is his presentation on the screen and him. If you have questions throughout, you can type the question in the chat box. I'll be monitoring that throughout, but probably what we'll do is have him get through the presentation. Roger and I practiced this together last week, and so we think it'll work best if he can get through the content, and then we'll leave plenty of time, probably 20, 30, 40 minutes if needed for Q&A after. So please prepare your questions. I'm going to give you all my cell phone number right now. If you have a logistical issue during this, text me at 714-458-3064. If you need it again, I'll put it in chat in a minute. Ideally, you won't. What we will do, as I mentioned before, is everybody right now, in a moment, it's hard for me to do this with my boss and my boss's boss on, but in a couple minutes, I'm going to actually ask them to turn their video off as well at the same time that I turn mine off, so that we'll leave just Roger. I want to thank a couple of sponsors. The center doesn't work without sponsorships, and we have 6 exclusive sponsors to the center who make this happen for us. In addition to the family businesses who support what we do, we also have an exclusive insurance provider, Bauer Master & Associates in Cypress, California. Our exclusive banking partner is City National Bank. Our exclusive caterer is Colette's Catering in Fullerton. Our exclusive legal partner is Shulman, Bastian, Friedman & Bowie. Our exclusive tax and accounting partner is RSM. And our exclusive family business consulting partner is Orange Kiwi LLC. We also just added today a new sponsor, Fortis Resource Partners. They are an HR and staffing partner, and Kira Bruno facilitates a couple of our groups, our affinity groups, and she's also coming on board now as a sponsor. We made that official about an hour ago, so excited about that. So without further ado, let me look at my announcements here. As I said, we'll do Q&A after. I'll just tell you a little bit about Roger, and then Morteza, Fram, and I will get off your screen, and you can just look at Roger and his presentation. He's the founder and managing director of, is it RYMK? Do you say it that way?
This RYAMK.
RYAMK, okay. I've been saying it both ways.
That's okay, that's fine.
Excellent. So RYAMK Consulting, a management consulting firm focused on family businesses in the food, beverage, and hospitality industry. As I've mentioned, Roger previously served as the chief financial officer for In-N-Out Burger from 1997 to 2019. So he's he says he's retired, but I've seen his office and I've seen his workload, and he sure doesn't seem like he's retired. In fact, he's speaking to us today from his office at In-N-Out in Irvine. So he's retired officially, but still does a lot of work with In-N-Out. I've gotten to know his I guess now what official former boss, Lindsay Snyder, the owner of In-N-Out, quite well, and she adores Roger, as we all do. In-N-Out now has over 350 stores throughout California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Oregon, and Texas. And if the government didn't say they were essential, I would. They're very essential to me, and they have fed my family many, many times in the last several years, but especially the last couple months. He started In-N-Out in 1984. He's a Cal State Fullerton alum and graduate. He serves in various capacities within Cal State Fullerton. We've been through the presentation together. Now you'll notice on this presentation, because of his experience in In-N-Out in the food and beverage industry, you'll see a lot on food and beverage and what restaurants are doing as we start to reopen. But I'm also excited because regardless of the industry that you're in and what you do for a living, whether it's education or manufacturing or whatever it is you do, you're definitely going to find things that are applicable here. I also needed to let you all know that we are recording this session. Roger's approved us doing that. We have some people internationally and also within our center that would like to see this at a later time. And if you need to come on or get off the call at any point because of your schedule today, email me. And I'm not going to blast this out to everybody. I'll blast it out to those that ask. So without further ado, Roger, you ready to roll?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead. Fram and Morteza, wonderful to see you, gentlemen. Hopefully you can stick with us and pop back up after if your schedule permits. And the three of us can stop our videos, and I'm going to share my screen, and you'll just see the PowerPoint presentation and Roger if I do my thing here correctly. So let's do this. Okay. I'm going
to give you the word, Ed, when you want me to start. So
yeah, let me just stop my video so that all we see now is you. Oh, I'm going to go to the mouse here. Whoops. As people pop in, I'll go ahead and turn their video off. So, all right, Roger, take it away.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I am very honored to join you this morning. Ed asked me to share my thoughts on the role of a financial leader in an organization, especially in times of crisis, and obviously we are in that right now with the coronavirus. I'd like to just share some general thoughts, and then I want to spend probably the bulk of the time here addressing my perspective on the current crisis and the impact and opportunities in the restaurant segment. So I'm going to start off with kind of laying a basic foundation. I'm going to talk about some options and opportunities, and then hopefully provide some optimism along the way, which we could all use, I know, in these times. So let's get started with 4 broad points on my perspective on the role of the financial leader, which will kind of lay out the foundation. So the next slide. Oops. Yeah, no, go back. Oh. Ed, you're quick on the draw there. So the first slide here. So I'm going to lay out some basics here, but this is really for financial leaders to kind of give them some guidance. And the first point here is, how you define your role as a financial leader will directly affect your impact to the organization. And as this slide alludes to, financial leaders need to be fully engulfed in being a strategic partner in the business. What I've come across time and time again is too many financial leaders define their role way too narrowly, and because of that, they really, they primarily focus on finance issues, and because of that, they really limit their impact and contribution to the organization. So, position yourself first and foremost as a strategic partner in the business. Next slide. Okay, here we go. Okay, and this next slide, with the last 3 points on this, is the first 2 points here involve managing in a crisis. And, you know, you can fall in a trap from a financial leadership perspective of focusing most of your attention on the financial aspects of the crisis. And in my opinion, that is a mistake. And that leads to a view and solutions that are way too narrow in scope, and that can lead to missed opportunities. The other thing is, you don't want to go into a bunker mentality here. This is often a reaction, and it could feel like the right thing to do, but it's absolutely the wrong thing to do. You need to be at a heightened level of reaching out to all aspects of the organization, especially operations. It's really key that you get connected with operations. And then last, in crises and beyond, what drives our actions and decisions need to be always customer focused, with the goal of meeting or exceeding our customers' expectations and needs. So these kind of provide, these 4 kind of broad points, I just wanted to kind of lay a foundation to start off with. Should be a guiding factor to lead you in a crisis and hopefully beyond, to be ultimately what a financial leader needs to be in the organization. That's a strategic partner with the other key players in the business. And this foundation will kind of lay out my approach as we go through the presentation as well. Next slide. This is a statement that I started off every one of my financial forecasts in my career. I started this off, I purposely started it off with this because I wanted to remind myself and my team what was important. And I'm going to read it. The purpose of a business is not to build shareholder ownership value. The purpose of a business is to build customer value. If you build customer value, shareholder ownership value will follow. I think a lot of businesses get caught up here on focusing on shareholder ownership value, and they lose perspective of what really the purpose of a business is. That's really to build customer value. And to my core, I believe this to my core and soul, it's really what's guided and led my approach to everything I did in my career. So as a financial leader, I'm talking to financial leaders out there, it's key, your role is key to support the organization and operations on executing on that point. So now let's go, now let's apply this. Ed, you kind of went backwards there.
Yes, I hit the wrong button there, Roger, apologize.
Yeah, so I'm not controlling this slide, so you can't blame me for any.
All on me, I'll take the blame.
So it's all good, Ed. So now let's apply this foundation and mindset to the current COVID-19 crisis and its impact to the restaurant industry. What I'm going to go through is this is how I would, and I actually have been formalizing my advice and consultations during the crisis. We're going to look at three areas, and that's meeting customer needs, potential opportunities, and then some broad takeaway. First off, as I start off everything, let's take a look at the customer. Okay, I wanted to start off with this slide first. You know, as I indicate in this slide, don't set your standards at just addressing government guidelines and stop there. You know, each business, market, and customer base is very unique. Our overriding goal always must be to meet or exceed our customers' expectations and while protecting and taking care of our team members. So I want to kind of set this. This is, you know, a lot of times I've seen some businesses, I've hit the governmental guidelines, this is what I posted, and they forget about the uniqueness of their market, their customer base, and it's really your overriding goal needs to be focused on those customers and meeting or exceeding their expectations. Next slide. Okay. Let's look at customers in the crisis. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list, but it touches on some key areas. I'm going to go into a lot more detail on opportunities, which I think is probably more germane for those people in the restaurant industry. But, you know, customers, you know, are first and foremost are going to be very discerning on deciding when, how, and where they dine out. In a recent survey, about 50% said they are somewhat comfortable to comfortable in dining in a restaurant after the crisis ends. We're going to have a smaller pool to draw from in the restaurant industry. We need to be aware of that. During the crisis, customers have utilized predominantly delivery, takeout, and drive-through. Those have been the big drivers of business, have kept a lot of businesses afloat. Even after the dining room opens, these three will continue to be dominant. So let's make sure we're maximizing the opportunities in these areas. You know, are we executing delivery, takeout, and drive-through at a level that meets or exceeds customers' expectations? You're gonna hear me say that a lot because I feel, you know, it's right in my core. Everything I kind of push forward comes from a customer perspective. So what is the wait time in our drive-throughs? What is the wait time for takeout or third-party delivery? Is the food packaged properly? Is the food, when it reaches our customers, at a quality level that meets or exceeds their expectations? These are the some of the areas that you need to be focused on. Now, also, mobile online ordering was a growing trend before the crisis, and the crisis, as many crises do, has propelled mobile online ordering forward. Huge, huge tailwind. You know, if you think about it, it checks off many of the boxes that the customer is looking for right now. It's contactless ordering, ease and quickness of pickup of food, and it's convenient. It's here to stay, and it will continue to grow. Next slide, Ed. Okay, so we're gonna get into some cleanliness and protection. Obviously, this is top of mind. This is a big issue. If not, it's one of the most key components that's facing the restaurant industry right now. You know, there's no way to get around this. You must dedicate more resources to the front of the house. There's no way to get around that. You have to. You know, in a recent survey, there was 4 points that consumers pointed out that they had strong expectations of restaurants. And the first is cleaning and sterilization, cited by over 70% in that survey. And cleaning and sterilization must meet 4 points. It must be constant, it must be timely, it must be effective, and it must be visible. If any of these 4 are missing, you have a problem. So it needs to be executed at a very high level. Sanitization options, that was cited by over 50% in the survey. This is where the customer wants to be able to self-clean if they want to. So hand sanitizer stations, wipes if they want to. They want to have those available if they want to address issues directly themselves. The third item, cited once again by over 50% in that survey, and I want to mention again, these are strong expectations. That's how it was classified in the survey. Team members must have the appropriate protective gear and utilize it properly. And when I talk about appropriate protective gear and utilize it properly, we probably have seen it. We've probably gone to places where the mask has been on the mouth, but not on the nose. That's not using it properly. Not only is it not protecting the team member, it's not giving the customer a sense of confidence. Gloves need to be changed out regularly. And let's try to use the highest quality gear possible. This is not an area to try to shave dollars and save money. Yeah, I've seen some gear out there it's been really, you know, not the highest as it should be. So let's use the highest quality gear, not only we want to first and foremost protect our team members, but we also want to give our customers a sense of confidence as well. The third item, or the last item that was mentioned once again by over 50% of the respondents, was seating must be spaced apart. We're probably all aware of that, but they also would like to see barriers, if at all possible, between seating. We've seen plexiglass come up, and this is an area where we might look for things that are, you know, aesthetically a little more pleasing than plexiglass if we can. An area in here, look for opportunities to expand seating square footage, either in your footprint. but also outside. Customers have indicated that they feel more comfortable outside with the fresh air and the breeze. And I know some cities are allowing restaurants to push into parking lots. So if there's look for all the availability. We know right now we're going to lose probably at least 50% of our seating. So if we can expand that seating in some way, pick up seating, that's a great thing. We can put it in a place where customers feel a little more comfortable. That's a great thing. I want to mention one other area here, and that's in the bathrooms, men's bathrooms. It's an overlooked point, but on urinals, don't forget about putting barriers there. That's going to be important to the customer as well. You know, in all of this, the customers indicated, you know, we need to consider aesthetics. You know, in a recent survey, customers mentioned that the number one thing that they're looking forward to in dining out again is starting to feel normal again. That was literally the number one thing mentioned in the survey. So if the environment is too sterile, if it's too uninviting, it works against that. So ultimately what we're looking for here is clean but inviting, clean but inviting. So let's go to the next slide, Ed. Oh, you know what? Let's go back. I wanted to mention one other point, if I can. Yeah, no, I got it. Let's go ahead and go. Next slide. Okay. So the other thing we're looking at, open food stations. You know, the buffet styles, the different things. This is highly problematic. If they're going to survive, they're going to have to be modified significantly. Significant safeguards put in place, such as a dedicated server. Be honest with you, I don't know if they're even viable. Sioux Plantation just recently filed bankruptcy. Sioux Plantation's a buffet style, and that buffet style was cited as one of the main factors of their filing. So this is really a problematic area, and it kind of moves into self-serving stations. You know, we're going to have to open up. If you have self-serving stations, really they're very likely going to have to be put on hiatus. We're going to have to move all the condiments, the cups, the utensils, and place them behind the counter. We're going to have to pour drinks behind the counter. We're going to have to hand out condiments, because having those items out in the open area and have multiple customers touching them is just, in this environment, is not workable. So we need to keep that in mind. Also want to mention contactless commerce, okay? And it's a big keyword that we're hearing a lot right now. It's really about the safe transfer of food and drinks, and it's a key item for the customer to feel comfortable. This is why drive-throughs have been such a powerful tool in the crisis. Customers feel safe transacting in a drive-through because of the contactless nature of a drive-through. So we need to take that concept over, and we need to apply it to dine-in. We need to apply it to takeout, and we need to apply it to third-party delivery. And so we need to incorporate it in there in all those areas. Now I'm going to stop here just for a second before we move on. You may have noticed that I haven't mentioned anything about numbers. Eventually, when we finalize our options with the executive team, we will analyze the numbers. The problem, the issue is if you let the numbers and the expenses drive your thinking too early in the process, you risk excluding potentially viable and valuable solutions too early. Right now, for those financial leaders out there I want to speak to, you need to think like a strategic partner first and foremost. I mentioned that early, not like a finance person. If you're in the senior financial leadership role, it's more than just about the numbers, right? That's part of the title of this. So I want to kind of point that out. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. We're going to talk about opportunities here. This is a slide that I created. It's kind of a thought process that I created. We all know the classic optimistic statement, right? Is the glass half empty or half full? But you know, what if the glass is less than half full? You know, a number of restaurants are experiencing that today with sales declines of 60 to 80%. So to me, you know, it's not whether the glass is half empty or half full. I prefer my own take on this. It's if you have something in the glass, you have the ability to build upon it and increase what's in the glass. In other words, as long as you have something in the glass, you have something to work with. So it's a different spin on this, but it's the one I kind of like to utilize. Let's go next slide. So we're gonna look at some opportunities that we can take advantage of in this crisis and things that come up. I want to start this off with a positive right here. You know, so much negativity going around. Sometimes we miss the positives, but the positive is in a recent survey with customers, they asked them what they missed most. And dining at restaurants was the #1 item by far. It was listed by 51% in the survey. So those of us in the restaurant business, we can take a little solace in that, at least from the consumer standpoint. Dining in restaurants is something that's on top of their mind. It's something that they want to get back to. Okay, so, you know, first impression upon reopening or reopening dining rooms is going to be key. You know, do not reopen the way you shut down. We are obviously in a different environment and will be there for some time. You know, you should have been already planning on the changes and additions to your operations and dining rooms. And ideally, you're probably executing on them right now. Ideally, you have the changes ready or made, and then once you get the governmental guidelines that say you can open, you open up. I want to make a point here. It's the summer and early fall are going to be very key to restaurants to leveraging, trying to get sales and hopefully building up some cash flow. We don't know what the late fall is going to bring to us. So my point of view is once you get a go-ahead to open up, you should be opening up. And to be able to do that, you need to plan ahead and get these changes in place. We'll need to win back our customers. View this as a reset to square zero. And a bad first impression could be very, very costly. Now, as I mentioned before, mobile ordering, online ordering has been propelled forward by the virus. Customers are embracing this because of the contactless nature of it, receiving their food and drink, okay? If you don't have mobile online ordering, you need to seriously consider it. It's here now. It's gonna be here for a long time. It's the future. The future is here now. So if you don't have it, you need to strongly consider it. If you have online mobile ordering in place and you've had it in place for a while, you need to go back and revisit it and make sure that you have the best of class in place for that. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Ed. Okay. As we mentioned, you know, drive-throughs have been embraced by the customer, okay? And in a recent survey, over 50% responded that they would continue to use third-party delivery and takeout once COVID-19 ended, not when it eased. So what this tells us, even beyond COVID-19, third-party delivery and takeout is here to stay. And I want to get into something here, you know, this is especially important in the summertime. I'm mentioning that before. In a recent survey, over 60% responded that once the lockdown orders started to ease, they wanted to take a trip. They wanted to go out and take a trip. You might say, where are they looking at? Well, the two top answers, the first one was to visit family and friends. That was cited by 42% of the respondents. The second one was to take a leisure trip. That was cited by 40% of the respondents. Now this is like, once again, over 60% responded, you know, within 3 months. And drilling down a little bit deeper, only about 35% feel somewhat comfortable to comfortable flying on an airplane. And less than 10% would even consider international travel. So we take all that data, what does that mean to us, okay? Well, people have been stuck in their homes. They want to get out, but they don't want to go far. Potentially a lot of car and domestic travel not far from home this summer. Okay, now with our dining rooms being limited, with the seating and how we have to space it out, drive-through and takeout could be a key driver this summer for travelers as we prepare to, you know, this summer. Are we prepared to maximize that opportunity this summer into the early fall? How does our takeout, how is our drive-throughs, are they operating at a peak efficiency? something really you need to look at. We're going to have an opportunity in summer. We're starting to open up now into early fall. Are we prepared to handle these travelers? They're going to be up there. And so we can maximize those sales. Like I said, we don't know what the late fall is going to bring us. Okay, the other part about this is third-party delivery is another strong option to consider. Do we have it in our playbook? Okay, be discerning what menu items travel well in third-party delivery, but this is an option that we should strongly consider. Also would serve those travelers as well. Okay, the other thing I want to mention here, we get down to the work from anywhere phenomenon, okay? People are going to continue to work at home in significant numbers. That's going to continue. Facebook just announced that their goal over the next 10 years is to have over 50% of their workforce working from home. And you're hearing this more and more. So even as the crisis eases, there will be some people coming back to the offices, but this new wave of people working at home, there's still going to be quite a few people doing this, and it's going to continue to grow for some businesses. Okay, this will influence how we market to these people. This will ultimately influence how we transact with them. Once again, driving third-party delivery and takeout. Digitization is here to stay. Online and offline businesses were often treated as separate businesses in the restaurant industry. In the new reality, the two need to be merged into a seamless operation. You know, this is where I have quite a bit of experience here. Think along the lines of how the QSR segment has merged drive-throughs and dining-in operations in a seamless fashion. We need to apply the kind of same mindset to address third-party delivery and takeout in our operations going forward with our dine-in operations. They need to be a seamless flow there. Next slide, Ed. Okay, this is a point. Not everyone's going to be in this boat, but if you have the ability, I strongly recommend you to continue new unit development. Not everyone's going to be there. A lot of businesses in a restaurant segment are just struggling to get through. I totally understand that. But if you happen to be fortunate or blessed enough to be doing pretty well, I highly recommend that you continue your new unit development. You know, some of the best new unit development deals are derived during times of crisis. You know, we know that a lot of operators and businesses will be downsizing or closing, unfortunately, and I do really feel bad for those businesses. But you know, we do know what comes out of that is a lot of developers and land site owners are going to be very motivated to make new deals. Okay, and some of the best site deals we made at In-N-Out were during times of crisis. You know, we always continued our development process. If you have the capability, don't be frightened of the times. Believe in your process, but do be selective and do be patient. Stay open. Stay open safely, obviously, but stay open. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this. You know, there's really a risk with your customers and your team members by closing or staying closed. If you close, customers may think you're closed for good. Customers will change their buying habits. It'll be hard to bring them back once you reopen. You know, team members, you know, they'll be hard to bring back as well, right? You'll lose connectivity with them. And with enhanced unemployment benefits, they may or may not be available. They may or may not want to come back. You know, this whole, so there's a real, I put this down here, there's a bigger risk than a lot are factoring in and keeping their operations closed in this environment. I also want to talk about the relationship with the customer here. You know, by being open, you're being there for them. They will appreciate it. And I'm going to tell you a story that happened early in my career, and it really had a huge impact on me. Happened in 1994. I was with In-N-Out. We had a major earthquake here in California, in Northridge, California. We had a store that was right in the middle of that earthquake. You know, fortunately, we built our stores at a high level. The store did sustain some damage, but it was still operational. A lot of the businesses around us were severely damaged. Electricity was out for several days in there. Gas was out sporadically for a couple of days. Well, we quickly got to work. We cleaned up that store. We rolled out a portable generator out to that store, and we were operational in less than 24 hours. Most of the other restaurants around us didn't open up for weeks, some longer. We were swamped with customers who didn't have electricity or gas to cook with. They were looking for a hot meal. They were looking for a meal, some of them. We heard over and over again how appreciative they were that we were open and they could get a hot meal and have a sense of normalcy. I want to repeat that, sense of normalcy was repeated many times. 10 years after that event, I still had people come up to me and thank me. And it really wasn't me, it was our team members. It wasn't me, I was just a conduit here for that store being open and being there for them. So don't underestimate the power of staying open and keeping that connection of service and normalcy with your customers. And I also want to make another point there, you know, that we spent a lot of money to get that store open. And if you were primarily focused on finances, you were primarily focused on the numbers, you're primarily focused on expenses, you might have vetoed that. You might have said, hey, no, that doesn't make any sense. We need to wait and take our time. But if you were primarily focused on customer value, it was absolutely the right thing to do, and was absolutely the right thing to do as we went forward. Next slide. And of course, you can't do anything like we did in Northridge without awesome team members. You know, your team members are your most important asset. We can't accomplish anything without them. And specifically, our store operation team members are the most important asset. You know, so take this time to show how much you appreciate them by taking care and protecting them. Make sure they have the proper safety equipment. Make sure that we're doing all the process and procedures to protect them. And if you're doing well, I know, like, once again, I know a lot of restaurants are struggling, not in this position, but maybe you are in a position where you guys are, your businesses are doing fairly well. Give them a little, share a little bonus with them as a thank you, reaching out and just saying thanking them in a tangible way for being there for you. You know, also by communicating, weekly Zoom calls is a great way to do this. And, you know, I just read a recent survey, and this was very striking to me. Transparency and open communication is the #1 thing employees are looking from employers in this crisis. So let me repeat that again. The #1 thing employees are looking for is transparency and open communication from employers. Okay, are we communicating with them? Are we constantly, not only with the workers that are working, but the workers that maybe you've had to furlough? You know, are we listening to them? Are we providing an easy portal to receive their feedback? You know, are we supporting them? You know, we know during this time, it's really economic times. It's just, you know, tragic. There's just, you know, we know poverty and we know hunger has gone way up. And, you know, I'm sure there's many of your team members that either have a significant other or a spouse that's maybe out of work, or their hours have been reduced significantly. Maybe mom and dad is in the same boat. You know, maybe they're having a hard time just putting food on the table. Maybe we have some extra food there that we're not utilizing with our business. Maybe we can reach out to those team members that are, you know, in that position or other position, if we have the capability to help them out. And then also organizing group charitable outreach. This is a great way to not only help the community, but also to keep connectivity with your workers that are currently working, and also your furloughed workers. Those workers that, you know, that you've had to let go, they keep that connectivity with you. And then also just to kind of piggyback, the strengthening the bond with your local community. This kind of, you know, I had charitable operations report up to me for many, many years. And I like to use a saying, and it was, life is not a one-way street. You know, there's times when we're going up the highway, and there's times we're going the other way. And you know, when we're in times like this, we need to look at our community where we do our business, where we have loyal customers, and we need to reach out and look for opportunities to help out. And this should not be about a marketing campaign. I don't want to make any, it's one of my, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that, but it shouldn't be about making a commercial. It should be about helping these communities that have been supported your business and supported your operations through all these years. So next slide. So we hit a lot of potential opportunities, a lot of information there. I hope that's been helpful to you. I want to leave off with 5 broad takeaways for you. These are just more big picture type of things and incorporate some of what we've gone over. The first one is focus on what you can control. And what I'm going to cite here is one of the great things I was able to do in my life. I was able to coach youth soccer for 10 years. It was really, I told people that if I ever come back in another life or something, or if I had another life, I'd like to come back as a high school coach, because I absolutely loved it. It was like one of the most rewarding things. But one of the things I would emphasize to my players over and over again is, what can you control on 100%? What's the one thing you can control 100%? It's your actions on the field, it's your behavior, it's your attitude on the field. That's what you have 100% control of. You don't have 100% control over the referees, or the fans, or the opposing players, or the weather, or the quality of the playing field. So let's not focus on that. I don't want to hear about that, because we can't control that. What you can control is yourself. So using that kind of concept here is, focus on your operations in our team and building customer value. That's what you can control. Let's don't overly focus on the virus, what the government's doing or not doing, competitors. Let's focus on our operations team and what you can control, your team members and your operation. And I think we're giving you some examples of things you can do there in that vein. Take it one day, 1 week at a time, move forward, let's celebrate even the incremental wins, right? That sales go up a couple $100, that's a win. Let's celebrate it. It's not about, hey, we're still down 33%. Well, if it came up a couple percent, we're making progress. Let's celebrate that. We're putting something in that cup. Going back to that opportunity diagram that I put out there, remember that cup? We've got something in that cup. We have something to work in. Well, we just added to that cup. We just added something in there. So even the small ones, we need to celebrate any win. Let's always be looking to just take it 1 week at a time. Let's look to move forward and continue to move forward. Let's play offense whenever you can. Get out of a defensive mindset. And I'm going to use another sports analogy here. In most sports, where you are able to score is when you have the ball and you're initiating the action. When you're on defense, you're just trying to prevent being scored upon is your primary goal, right? So I think in a crisis, you can get caught up in a scenario of just continuing playing defense. You got to get out of a defensive mindset. You need to be always thinking ahead. Let's troubleshoot. Let's look for opportunities. Let's look to get ahead of it. So what I try to mention about trying to set up our operations for the new normal, we shouldn't be waiting for the governmental guidelines to come out. We should be already working on that. Let's start playing offense on this. Let's get ahead of this. So this is, and I think we've given you some examples in the presentation to do that. Fourth, let's communicate and listen constantly to our customers and team members. I mentioned in the prior how important that is to the team members, right? But this is important to you and your business. Your customers and your team members are going to be the key guides for you to get out of this crisis and move on beyond it. And we shouldn't be there waiting for the feedback. We need to be proactive in getting that feedback. We need to be reaching out. We need to be constantly talking to our customers. What do you like about our new operations? And what don't you like? What could we be doing different here to make your dining experience better or more comfortable or more enjoyable? We need to be talking to our team members. Do you feel good? Is there anything we can be doing to make you feel safer, feel better about the situation? So this is an area where you need to be proactive. It's not a, once again, we get out of playing defense. Let's play offense. Let's, we want that feedback. Okay, and then lastly, let's stay positive and be flexible. I'm gonna use my last sports analogy here, but I guess it was a theme in this one, but you're a coach for your team members, okay? And like any team, the team will take on the characteristics of their coach. Are you complaining about the virus constantly and about what the government's doing or not doing? Are we staying positive? Are we being flexible? So your team will follow your lead, and they will watch you and watch your behavior and take a lead and a cue off of it. So we need to be positive and flexible here. And there's one, I want to just end this section right here. There's one thing I've been utilizing, a little saying I like to use, and it's, crisis will come and crisis will go. Your actions will live forever. And I, really take that to heart. The crisis will come, the crisis will go, but people will remember how you acted and reacted to it. Your customers, your team members, the public. So let's keep that in mind. So, okay, I hope, I tried to cram, I know we had a short period of time. I wanted to keep some time for questions and stuff, but I hope the session has been helpful. As you can see, I didn't talk about numbers at all. The first time you probably heard a finance guy never talk about numbers, right? Eventually, when you get consensus on courses of action, we will look at numbers. But before you get to that point, think and act like a strategic partner with the guiding light of always striving to build customer value. Thank you for being there. I know this is tough times for a lot of you out there in whatever business you're in, especially the restaurants. Just stay positive, keep battling, look for opportunities, and we'll get through this together. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you being on the call, and I really hope this was helpful to you. I love family businesses. I've been in, my whole career was in a family business in 3 generations. And, if any of these points help you along the way, then I'm thrilled. And I'm thrilled that I was able to be helpful in any way. So thank you, everyone, again.
Roger, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So many great points. And I'm sitting here taking what you're talking about and applying it, because we work with about 60 or 65 family businesses around Southern California, and virtually, love the cup. Look at you. A little branding there for In-N-Out. I love it. And this is so applicable to so many different people. A few questions have come in, and then what we'll do is we'll open it up if anybody wants to ask a question.
Sure.
One question came in. Some businesses have started to add a COVID-19 charge to cover the additional costs. Is there any word of In-N-Out that plans on doing anything like that?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I'm not in the operational business any longer. I retired in March of 2019, and I'm doing some personal work for the family. So I'm not in the operational side of the business any longer. So I'm really, and what I'm doing right now is the consulting business that I'm doing, and I do some personal stuff for them. I'm not aware of anything that they're doing. I know that there's been mixed reaction to that with other businesses. Some customers have objected to the surcharge being added to it. I would probably, where I would come out on it would probably be not to add a surcharge, just and try to, if you feel like you need to add something, just add it to the menu prices themselves. But it's a hard call. I think it really comes down to how your customers, like each market and customer base is unique, and addressing it in that fashion. So, but there is a lot more expenses in there. If you can avoid passing it on, I wouldn't, if you're really, some businesses are really struggling to make ends meet, and this is a big deal. If it's not a make or break for you, I would say try not to pass it on. One of the key components we used to at In-N-Out is you know, we used to, let's say, we had a number of cases where, you know, tomato cost or produce cost or cheese cost or something would skyrocket, and we see other competitors add surcharges or try to take their prices up. And we always took a long-term approach to that, saying, you know, let's don't do things in the short term, knee-jerk reaction to it. Really, you know, once again, trying to build customer value and viewing our customers as just, you know, really as guests and key components, obviously the key component to our business. So I would say, unless you really have to, don't try to pass that along. You know, you know, but if you do need to, I'd probably opt more to trying to increase it on the menu price.
So if you can answer this next question that I've had, and I know a lot of people have had, and it did come up in the chat, then your consulting opportunities are going to go way up. But I'm going to give you an opportunity. We're hearing about restaurants and salons and virtually any gathering type of business where people come into the business having to, because of social distancing, and I'm paraphrasing for a gentleman who wrote in a question here, but I've heard it all, you know, for months. Restaurants in particular, let's use that because that's your specialty, but again, it does tie to other industries coming back in at really half occupancy, if you will. I've already seen restaurants just this week where, you know, they've taped off half the restaurant or taken out half the chairs and tables. Any suggestions that you have on how these restaurant owners or these salon owners or others can make it? A lot of people are saying it's gonna be really hard to make it if they're only able to run at half the revenue.
Yeah, I'll speak to probably more of the restaurants, and it was emphasized in my presentation. This is why you have to use every tool in the toolbox that you can right now. And that involves third-party delivery, it involves takeout. If you have you have a drive-through. That's why I emphasize that time and time again. Those are key tools in your toolbox. That's why mobile online ordering is another one. You know, you need to get as many tools out there as you possibly can. So I think the way they survive, you're not going to have the dine-in activity that you had before. There's just no way when you take away half the seats. You know, so you need to emphasize takeout and third-party delivery and mobile online ordering. It's all these ways to transact with the customer. The other thing that's going to be very important in those restaurants is turning tables, right? And so what that means is that you need, you know, when you do have the dine-in, open it up, make sure you have the capability in the kitchen to get turnaround orders quickly and get them out to your guests. You know, we don't want to rush them, but we are going to need to try to be efficient where we can try to move tables in a very efficient manner. So I think that's how I would answer that. You know, salons, I can't really, you know, I'm not
But a lot of it applies. A lot of it does apply. You need to be creative.
Yeah. So, you know, it's going to be a tough time, and we don't know how long it's going to be before we get back to any kind of normalcy. So we need to utilize every tool we possibly can.
Question from Chloe Okura, who's a Cal State alum, and her family runs Juan Pollo restaurants. Her question is coming from a fellow family-owned restaurant chain. How does top leadership stay connected with operators and frontline employees who bear the brunt of the risk during the crisis? It's a really good question.
Yeah, well, one thing I always try to do in my career, I try to get out in the stores as much as possible and spend a whole day out there. And I would typically go out with a divisional manager or regional manager, and we try to hit as many stores as we could, you know, 8 to 12 stores in a day, you know, start off early, finish late, and get into the store and just have conversations with people. So I would say get out into the stores. You know, it's, you know, I always tell people, you know, in the support side, we are not the most important thing going on. And I'll just pass along an analogy that I always used to use. You know, I would use it like it's a play, you know, the actors and actresses are a store operation team. We're in the background, we're the lighting, and we're doing the wardrobe and whatever, and we live vicariously through the applause and the successes of those actors or actresses, which / our store operation team. So, you know, we need to be out there and understand what they're going through. So, you know, it's a matter of getting out there and talking to them and asking and showing them that you're part of the team. You're not, you know, you're not holed up in the office somewhere. You know, you need to go out, put your mask on, put your gloves on, and go into the operations and just say, hey, we're here for you. What do you guys need? Is there anything we could be doing better? You know, how can we support you better? You know, we're on the support side of things. We're not the most, I always told people, you know, hey, I have a big title, but that person that takes your order every day and the person that cooks your order and delivers your orders is way more important to the customer than me. So we need to be out there and we need to be interacting with them and being where the action is.
Yeah, you told me when you and I first sat down a couple of years ago in a meeting that your number one role at corporate was to support the store.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
ultimately you exist for them, and they support the guests that come in through the doors every day. We do have time for questions. I'll ask in a moment if anybody has a question you'd like to ask Roger, to go ahead and either unmute and or unblock your video, and feel free to come in and make it so we can see you. We'd love that. One more question that does come up, I'll just read it. Thanks for sharing. A lot of thank yous, by the way, have come through the chat. Tons of people have said thank you for your leadership and for your wisdom and experience. And I'll say that now and say it again in a few minutes when we wrap. But this question, thank you for your insight. Very informative. For people who want to start or open a business during this crisis, what would you recommend those entrepreneurs to navigate during this unprecedented time? Or what strategies can you take or start to expand your business as you begin? If you're starting out fresh or talking to someone who's starting, what advice might you give?
Well, it depends on what area you're going to go into. You know, I think there's some opportunities to address issues that have came out of this crisis. You know, dealing with, you know, some of the challenges businesses are facing, whether it's number of workers working at home, or whether it's cleaning and sanitization issues that businesses are facing, you know, issues that large gatherings, which, you know, probably last, you know, how do they open and open safely, and what, you know, so there's I would say at this point in time, look at the challenges that are out there, and think about if you have a solution to address some of these challenges that businesses are facing or consumers are facing. And that's where I would look if I was going to be starting a new business. I'd be looking at, this is the new normal. This is the issues that we're dealing with, and you know, how can I help businesses kind of bridge from the old normal to the new normal successfully? And so I look for those opportunities out there to do that.
Okay, the floor is everybody else's for questions if anybody has any, as we're waiting for somebody to pop on. Question I have, Roger, what's inspired you in the last 3 months or so as you've been living through this like the rest of us?
Oh, what's, you know, obviously all the, you know, the people that have stepped forward, you know, obviously the medical providers and how they've stepped forward, and first responders, and help people. I think people just trying to help other people, whether it's companies, you know, donating to charitable causes or organizing their workforce to do that, to individuals making masks, to trying to provide medical supplies, to feeding the people that are, you know, obviously suffering from the economic issues that have, you know, that I think unemployment, which is just so sad. It just crossed 40 million today, I believe, and you know, my heart just goes out to all those people. I mean, it just breaks my heart. You know, obviously all the people in the virus and the loss of lives is obviously tragic as well, but there's tragedy on the other side of this as well. And just all the people that have reached out and are helping and trying to help people in any way. And that's really inspired me, you know, just seeing how neighbors are trying to help neighbors, and people are just reaching out to others that have been impacted by this and trying to do whatever they can.
We'll be hosting a call tomorrow at 1 o'clock for anybody that's on here that wants to be part of it. Reach out to me. We're calling it Feel Good Friday, and it's just that. Sharing stories of what you all have seen that's inspired you, and maybe there are foundations or organizations doing great things, and it's also an opportunity to potentially raise some money for those organizations. And reach out to me and I'll share with you how that can be done. Another question came in on the text. Thank you again, getting tons of these. What are some strategies we can take through the summer to get ahead of the public health officials' prediction of a large second wave of infection later this year?
So what says, read that again.
So
Was it-
there's a lot of experts, public health officials and
Yeah.
politicians stating that we're probably gonna have another wave and maybe even a bigger wave of this in the fall or later. What preparations would you suggest for In and Out or anybody on this call that we could take in preparation for that? Because we didn't have preparation prior to this before, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of preparations in place now that we didn't have, right? So we have, sneeze guards that are up. We're going to have plexiglass between seating. We're going to have the mask, which we didn't have available, and gloves, the sanitization kind of procedure. So we're going to be in much better shape than we were the first time this hit. So, that gives me a level of optimism, to be honest with you. But I go back to the point that I made is, we don't know what the late fall is going to bring. It may or may not bring. We've heard predictions before that it haven't come true. But, we have this opportunity right now. We're coming out of it in the summer into the early fall, where we have an opportunity to really try to get back open and leverage sales. People have been and hold up for a long period of time. They want to get out and about. So I just emphasize, like right now, get up and running, get your operations up and running. Let's try to leverage these sales in the summer and into early fall that hopefully will give you some cushion and some cash flow that if we do hit anything in the late fall, that will help cushion that. And so as far as dealing with the late fall, we don't know what's going to happen there. I think just, all the things we have in place now, though, we're in much better shape than we were at going into it. So I have a sense of optimism as far as if it does flare up, at least we've got everything in place to deal with it. And we're in a much better position.
Excellent, thank you. We do have still some time. Roger has been kind enough to say he'll stick with us a little bit longer. If anybody wants to have an open dialogue, and the reason I state it this way is Vin has stated a question out to everyone on the chat. Does anyone here plan to, and I know we have a lot of restaurant owners. I've been in communication via text. A couple of times I missed a slide move for you. I was in a text dialogue with the restaurant asking me a question. But we do have questions that are coming through. And this one is, does anyone have a plan to pivot away from third-party delivery platforms to in-house delivery? And I'll give you an example. I know Wing Lam at Wahoo's does a lot of that. I know third-party delivery is expensive. I've seen videos that really companies, restaurants are losing money once they bring in a third party.
Yeah.
So your take on that, Roger, and then if anybody else wants to jump on and respond or answer that, please do.
Yeah, no, that is a problem. Obviously the big hitter right now is DoorDash is starting to grab market share here, and then you have in order Grubhub, Uber Eats, and Postmates as being kind of a more of a minor player in the segment. It is something, especially for smaller operations, that I would say, yeah, definitely. If you feel like it's something you could execute to, definitely look at it. I have no problems. For large, larger you get, the larger that is, the harder that is to execute to, and you have the issue of people driving their cars and the insurance and accident risk and all this other stuff that comes along with it. So there's some layers to this that need to be worked out, but definitely an area to look at. I totally get it. The charge is typically around 20%. It's a big hit, and it's difficult to absorb, and it's difficult to pass along as well. So no, I think it just depends on the operation and whether you feel like you can execute it correctly and at the level, and but do consider all the kind of side factors that will go into that.
Excellent, thank you. No other questions have come through. A lot of, again, comments just thanking you for your time and so forth. Charles, my good buddy Charles Antis Roofing. I know you know Wing Lam real well, and we were talking about him earlier. You any thoughts or questions, Mr. Antis?
Well, I love hearing the perspective, because I could just take what you're saying about restaurants and throw it into other industries, right, and the disruptions that a lot of us haven't felt the pain yet that restaurants have felt. But, when you were talking, I was excited because I'm experiencing this vicariously and a little bit of my own involvement as I go and do these, the California Love Drop that Wing Lamb started for Wahoos.
Yeah.
And Wing's a perfect example of what you're talking about. He doesn't sit still, and that's not Wing's personality anyway. He's created an economy of tacos, sort of, and so he's playing with that now. And I was just going to his restaurant about a month ago. I was there at 11. I thought it opened at 11. It opened at 11:30, so I was waiting there. I called Wing and I said, "Hey, Wing, how's it going? Because I know things are down." And I said, "Hey, can I help?" And then I kind of swallowed. And he said, "Yeah." And I
Be careful what you ask for.
Yes, but you know what? It's like people like you, what you're saying, and people like Wing, who's being creative in the moment instead of putting his head in the sand. He's awoken in me an aliveness that is allowing me to get more ahead with my team and talk about true adaptivity while it's happening, and lifting your brand while it's happening. And what Wing's doing is, and he's got a lot of partners here. KTLA is helping out. KLOS is helping out. You know, I just figured out during this show that Wendy of KLOS, their biz development person, she created a GoFundMe page for this, which I just donated to. And so by helping Wing out, I'm helping his key employees keep it all together. But he's delivering food to frontline workers at hospitals, police, fire, senior centers. And this experience that I got to share last night at Mission Hospital, where my kids were born premature in Chalk NICU, I showed up with employees and we got to give those same people meals and appreciation. And that is awakening something in me. And if I wasn't doing it, Roger, I would be asleep with my head in the sand.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm doing everywhere. I'm showing up, saying yes, and I'm watching those truly innovative leaders. And so if I was in a restaurateur, man, I would call you, and I would call Wing, and I would call everybody. I would call Tommy's Burgers, everybody who's having success bringing that food somewhere. And I believe all those guys are going to share with you, like you are, everything that will help us be better together. So I think this was a really good. I'm going to send this to my VP of Finance to watch, and to some restaurants. So you taped it, right, Ed?
Yeah, it's recorded.
Well, Roger, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for nailing it and letting me hear it from other logic that makes sense in that industry. This is really helpful.
No, thank you, Charles. And then, I know Wing, he's an awesome guy. Wahoo's Fish Tacos, terrific. He's been a charitable person. And it's just looking for whatever ways. And, there's there's little things of just supporting restaurants in your local community by going to takeout and maybe leaving them an extra tip, extra added tip. There's little things along the way you can do too. There's little things, that along the way. And getting to your point, Charles, with the financial leaders out there, this hopefully it came through. It's not all about the numbers. Don't be leading your career and your perspective. You should be a strategic partner, and it should be driven off of customer value and building that, and in supporting your team members in order to accomplish that. So
I would say one thing too, if you have a restaurant that you guys partner with, you eat dinners there, if you go to your supply chain, we went to our supply chain as we always do, and we said, hey, can you help out? I've got my MMA insurance. I've got Halbert Halster, people that manage a lot of our stuff. They are going to show up and they're going to do the same thing. And so I think what you're creating right now is perfect. We can all help. And then my people are happier. They like,
yeah.
And we're going to bring Wahoos to our people in the field now. It's like, who knew? Just show
you're
up.
away from the office.
You'll find out we did a lot of charitable outreach. I was fortunate enough to have charitable operations report up to me, and we did a lot of outreach stuff. And you're right, Charles. You find your team members love it. They want to give back. They just want to find out ways to be able to do that. And so I think that's one of the things I try to emphasize, is just building that connectivity with your team, especially if you got members that you had to furlough. Is put together some of these things where you can go out to a food bank or to a local hospital or wherever it is, to a shelter, and put together and out where we collect things and hand out, or it's just a great way to give back. But it's also a great way to, for your team members to feel connected, that they're helping out as well. You're keeping that connectivity. So it's just a whole circle of helping out, so. It's awesome. Thank you for the comments, Charles. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Charles. Always great to see you. Don't go too far. One more, question for you, a couple of other comments or questions. One person asked what your thoughts are on restaurants who allow animals on patios. Obviously, Lazy Dog does it because it's in their name and their brand, but we're seeing other companies doing it as well. Just high level thoughts on that.
Well, it's just totally up to the operations. Obviously, if it's a service dog, you have to allow it.
Yeah.
And so I think the tact is, unless it's a problem, just unless it's bothering somebody, I don't know if I'd really, because you'd go to the customer and they could say it's a service dog, and you don't have any way to know whether it's a service dog or not. So I always erred on the side of it's not, unless there's a problem, on the patio there that the dog's maybe causing other issues with other customers, which a service dog really shouldn't be, because the service dog's been trained not to be friendly with other people. Not to make a big issue out of it, unless it's an issue with the other customers. So it's up to every operation,
Do you have any, I'm paraphrasing another question here, rather than giving their percentages, do you have any thoughts on what the percentage of overall revenue for restaurants might be across the board? Not dollars, but the percentage as far as the delivery, as far as, a lot of people are going to get their food. We're getting most of our food brought to our doorstep now.
Well, it obviously varies on the QSR segment. Everything's being, the bulk of the business is being driven through the drive-throughs. And then there is some definitely delivery factoring in there. Where delivery is really propping up is really the kind of the dine-in, casual dining type of segment, where you don't have the drive-through, and so they're really relying on either takeout or delivery. I mean, almost entirely now they're starting to open up dining rooms, selective areas, so they're going to start getting that piece of the business back. But it varies all over the map. It's smaller for the QSR segment because of you can access them through a drive-through. Most QSRs through a drive-through. But it's a higher percentage for casual dining and dine-in, and I don't really have those numbers.
Yeah,
really.
No problem. Thank you. Well, no more questions have come through, and no one else is jumping in. I want to thank you so much, Roger. I know you're a busy man. You're probably busier, like we said at the top of this, than you might have even been before you retired. I know you're very busy working with a lot of different family businesses, and we just really appreciate you. I speak on behalf of Morteza, who runs our business school, and Fram, who runs the university, and many Cal State Fullerton employees and alums who've been on this call today, to thank you for your time, not just today here, the last 90 minutes, but what you do for the university, our athletic program, everything. You're a huge support, and I don't just mean financially. Your emotional support, your just your passion for Cal State Fullerton Titans is very evident in what you do. And I just want to thank you so much for your time today.
No,
Michael Louie, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I'm just glad to be. I really feel for the businesses that are struggling. People are struggling, and when you came to me, I was just kind of, it was the reason I agreed to do it is just, if I could pass anything along that helps the business make it through this, or get over the hump, or stay in the game. I was going to be glad to do it, and hopefully there's a couple points there that maybe people can pivot off of. I would just encourage people to be very creative during this time, and like I say, try to play offense and try to look for great opportunities, and just hang in there. And I'm glad to do done this, and if it helped in any way, then I'm thrilled. So that's all I was trying to accomplish. So
well, you have. I can see mountains of thank yous, and appreciate your time pouring through on the chat. And I'd be here another half hour if I read them all to you. But we are saving this, and I'll be happy to copy and paste and send them. The gratitude we have for you is outstanding. We hope that all of you, we know that we were over 100 on this call today. I know the numbers dropped because people have other places they have to get, and that's understandable. We'll be doing another workshop in 2 weeks. Ryan Fratsky of Fratsky Media in Fullerton will be presenting. Our topic is the economic rebound will be digital. Is your family business prepared? And I know all of us are going digital. I hear people sometimes saying, hey, we're thinking about doing things online. Well, we've been in this 3 months. You might want to do that, because that is here to stay. And so Ryan and his team will be sharing more about how we can be more digitally prepared for what lies ahead and what we're currently in. We do these every couple of weeks. So if you're interested in more family business programming, reach out. If you'd like to be on our mailing list, many of you heard about this from a friend. So I don't know who you are and you don't know who I am, but if you are interested, I'm sure you can get our contact information from them. Visit our website, which is CSUFFamilybusiness.com, and more information is there as well. So again, thank you to all of you who participated and who joined in with us today. Again, our gratitude to Roger. And we just hope everybody has a wonderful day. The recording will be available. If you, like I said, I won't blast it out, but if you like it, several people have already reached out. We'll make sure we get that to you.
Yeah, if anybody has any follow-up questions or something I can help with, you can reach me at ryamkfamily@outlook.com. So if we didn't get to a question or something that was on your top of your mind, I'm glad to respond to it if I can help anybody in any way. So that, once again, that's ryamkfamily@outlook.com. So if I can help out, let me know.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Roger, have a great day. We
Bye.
appreciate
Keep
it.
battling out there, guys. Keep
Yeah.
positive. Keep battling.
Absolutely. We appreciate what all of you as family business leaders do. You're the lifeblood of our economy, and we don't lose sight of that. So thank you so much. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, everyone.